Welcome to Early Detect Studios. On this episode, we are thrilled to feature Dr. Ilana Goldberg, a scientific program director with NIH who is deeply committed to supporting the development of biomedical technologies that enhance public health. Dr. Goldberg is currently program director at the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute at NIH, where she directs a portfolio for integration of AI and modeling to technology for blood development. In addition, she is a project manager for the RADx Tech Initiative and started a Technology for Maternal Health initiative at the National Institute of Biomedical Imaging and Bioengineering, the NIBIB. Dr. Goldberg earned her BS degree from Brandeis University in chemistry and biochemistry and her PhD from Georgetown University. In 2005, she was awarded a Fulbright Fellowship. Welcome to the show, Dr. Goldberg. We are so grateful to have you on.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm very honored to be here.
Well, I would just love to learn more about your path, your background, and your dedication towards using biomedical technologies to enhance public health is so impressive. And we'd love to learn more about your journey. Like, what inspired you to be in this field? And tell us more about how you transitioned from your roles in industry. For example, you were with AstraZeneca, the Johns Hopkins University Applied Physics Laboratory. And how did you transition from there into your leadership roles at NIH?
That's a really good question. So when I was working at the Applied Physics Laboratory, it's actually a defense contractor. And most of my job was in explosives detection. And it was the first time that not only was I utilizing technology, but one of the goals of the Applied Physics Laboratory is to be a trusted agent to the government. So we were evaluating technology that the government uses for explosives detection. And I was working very closely with understanding how this technology works, working with the vendors, and trying to be the liaison between the vendors and the government so they could develop the type of technology that the government was looking for to deploy. And it was the first time I really saw what goes into technology development, what you need to see, and what the requirements really are, and how they change based on where you're using it. And I became very fascinated with this, especially from what it takes to develop this technology to then actually get it out and be working in the field and useful. And so from there, I've did a lot of other projects. I wanted to transition into healthcare um, field, and so I was working in AstraZeneca for a bit. Once again, they were using a lot of different technologies, working with vendors to develop some AI machine learning technology that they wanted for their projects. Um, but then I thought ultimately, where can I make a difference? And that was being in the government and working for the government. So to do that transition, I did a AAAS Science and Technology Policy Fellowship. So the goal of this fellowship is to place scientists into government roles and in government positions, policy positions, scientific positions, and get us all out there. So it's a great program. I did my placement at NIBIB,
Mhm.
where I was able to learn what a program director does. I worked a lot on their small business program there and learned all about the NIH mechanisms for small business and translating those technologies. And that's kind of how I ended up where I am today.
Wow, that's so fascinating. Such an inspiring and an interesting journey. So, we'd love to learn more about your current portfolio at NIH. So, currently, you direct a portfolio for integration of AI and modeling technology for blood development. So, can you please share more about your portfolio and the aspirations that you have for the sector?
Oh, I'd love to. I do want to say that we are just starting up this new portfolio, and that's because we understand at NIH, and especially in the blood division that I'm in, that AI, machine learning, big data modeling, they're really all going to be very important tools for healthcare. And we want to make sure that we give the opportunities in the field of hematology to understand we know that, and we want these tools developed. And there's several examples of projects that are currently being developed in this area, projects, ideas where you can look at blood smears and have the AI machine learning help do clinical diagnosis based on the cells that they see. There's a lot of different cell phone apps in development. One where you can take pictures of your nail beds and help to look for anemia.
Mm.
And there's also a lot of prediction tools out there, right? How can we understand what the biggest factors are that lead to morbidity for sickle cell disease? And how can we use those to determine mortality rates or predict when a pain crisis will come up? And what we really want to do, and the point of this portfolio, is to encourage the development of these technologies, look forward to the future and say, hey, this is where we're going, this is interesting, and how can we help support that?
Wonderful. Speaking of AI and healthcare, I wanted to get your thoughts on the status of AI and health tech. How do you think recent advancements in AI are accelerating the development of healthcare technology, and what makes you hopeful for the future? And does anything concern you?
Wow. Recent developments in AI are so exciting right now. The idea that we can combine different types of data. For example, we can take the clinical data that we get out of the laboratories, we can combine it with the electronic health record data, with the patient history data, and we can use the AI and use the modeling to discover trends and makes predictions that, a human brain can't do all alone. And it's
Sure.
really fascinating to me. I think the biggest concern I have now, and something I'm hoping to keep working on in this role, is how do we get the right people in the room and how do we get them to interact and speak the same language to create these technologies, especially for blood. And what I mean by that is to create the best possible technologies and make the best use of this technologies. We need those hardcore algorithm developers. We need those hardcore modeling machine learning experts, but we need them to talk with clinical hematologists. We need them to talk with the doctors in the field, and they don't necessarily speak the same language. And even harder, they don't necessarily know each other or understand the problems that each other has. So how can we get them to speak to each other, understand the same languages, and come up with joint projects that they can work on to really develop these tools in the hematology space? And I'm really excited and hopeful that that's going to happen and see how we can at NIH help encourage that.
That's great to hear and very encouraging. So, naturally, given that we are cognitive care, I have to ask you about your really interesting and impactful work in maternal health. Given that we're working to advance outcomes in maternal and infant health and equity, we would love to learn more about your maternal health related initiatives that you are pioneering at NIH. For example, there's Improve, the Implementing a Maternal Health and Pregnancy Outcomes Vision for Everyone initiative. That's just one that comes to mind. And if you could share more about Improve and other maternal health efforts that you're leading at NIH, we'd love to hear.
Oh, that's awesome. I'd love to. So the Improve Initiative is a great initiative. It's a trans NIH initiative. Um, it just got started, and actually, there's a few funding announcements that just got on board. So really, we're putting together all of across trans NIH, trying to figure out this maternal health initiative. We just got some funding announcement for maternal health centers of excellence, so you can see those RFAs online. We just had our submission portal close. We had a technology initiative that was out there. It was run as a prize challenge for late stage technologies in maternal health. And really, we announce everything really well at NIH on the websites, and there's a whole improved website I encourage you to look at. In terms of things that I'm actually spearheading and leading, we did a workshop in January 2022, and it's all online with the recordings on technology to improve maternal health, and started laying the groundwork for understanding what's out there, where we need to go, how technology can make a difference, and what the community is looking for. There's a whole community panel on there discussing, what are their needs. And once again, it's trying to get these different groups to talk to each other. We are in the early stages of planning for a follow-on workshop for that, so keep looking at all the NIH channels. We're excited to have that through. We also currently have a notice of special interest out, and that is for technology to improve maternal health, and that is through our small business initiatives. But really, there's a lot going on. It's very exciting, and I really encourage people to take a look at the NIH websites and understand what we have out there. We've got a lot going on in this area, and we've got more stuff planned. So I'm very excited about it.
It's great to hear that this is important to NIH. It's important for all of us. So in that regard, I wanted to ask you about. I'm very thankful that you explained all of what NIH is doing right now, and potentially what could be in the pipeline. However, when we talk about maternal health, we also have to talk about maternal health equity. Rates of maternal morbidity and mortality are higher in the US as compared to any other developed nation, with severe racial, ethnic, and socioeconomic disparities persisting across the country. So, NIH, as part of the White House call to action to reduce pregnancy related deaths and complications, has issued multiple opportunities to support innovators developing maternal health technologies to address this crisis, some of which you just mentioned. But technology is designed to improve health outcomes. It goes without saying. But what are your thoughts on the role and the responsibility of technology to help bridge care gaps?
Right. You're absolutely right. Technology can be a very powerful tool, but it has to be designed well. And what I mean by that is it has to be designed with the end users in mind. So that's the community in mind. And that is to say, what we're hoping to encourage, especially through these workshops, is that we can have these people talk to each other. We can have the technology developers, the clinicians, the community itself, and there's a lot of community advocacy organizations to include. And we want them to reach out. We want them to ask these community partners, what is it that you need? What is it that you're looking for? What could help you in this field? And we want them to design the technology based around those needs, but then continue to keep them involved as they're designing the technology, as they're evolving their technology, and throughout the whole process, not just in the later design stage where they're like, hey, we developed it. How do you think it works?
Mhm.
But making sure throughout the process, those voices are heard. And the US is unique. We have a variety of different community groups. As you talked about, there's a lot of socioeconomic differences. There's a lot of differences between our rural communities, our urban communities, and we do have a lot of cultural differences. And the idea is that if technology is going to adequately help with those gaps and help with maternal health, the developers have to understand the needs of those specific types of communities, those different gaps, and help to develop that technology to fit those needs and fit those areas. And that's what we are really hoping to try to encourage through a lot of these initiatives coming out of NIH.
Wonderful. That's again, I'm very pleased to hear that that's a focus area for NIH. And so our audience covers the full spectrum of professionals, from research institutions to corporations of all sizes. And I know, again, you've shared some of it already, but is there anything else you'd like to share about the different types of funding opportunities at NIH, more to educate our audience, perhaps, and maybe what resources you think are helpful for researchers and startups or small businesses while applying for NIH funding? Any advice that you'd like to give?
Absolutely. So, my first biggest piece of advice that I try to tell everyone is please reach out to us, especially the program directors. We are here to help you. We want to help you. The favorite part about my job is talking to you all in the community, understanding where you are, where you want to go with your research, your technology development. There are contacts at the bottom of every FOA. There are web pages which have our names and our interest areas. Email us, get in touch with us. That's what we want to do, and we are here for you, and we are here to help you. In terms of specific mechanisms, I'll just focus on our small business mechanisms. So NIH does have congressionally mandated set aside funding for small businesses. It comes through our SBIR and STTR programs. Um, and there's a ton of information on the different mechanisms. There are phase mechanisms. We have phase one funding, phase two funding support. We have some of our ICs do a phase 2B program, and then the larger clinical trials and stuff can be part of that. Um, but everything is listed on websites. Our SEED website, so that's our Small Business Education and Entrepreneurial Development Office, that's run out of the Office of Director, has a website that explains in detail all these different mechanisms, what they're used for. And then something that might not be so obvious is we do have a lot of additional programs that train entrepreneurs, especially entrepreneurs who are scientists and are trying to transition out of technology, but maybe don't understand how you understand the market space, how you write a commercialization plan, how you write a business development plan. So when you become part of the NIH ecosystem, we have these other programs and educational spaces that you can apply for that really help more on the business end, to teach those things. And once again, they're all announced on our websites. And the other thing I tell people is we do have a lot of tutorials online and YouTube channels that help our investigators to understand what we're looking for and really how to write the grant applications, how to fill out your forms. And we are always running webinars, tutorials, workshops to get the community engaged and involved. So if you're not following us on Twitter or on LinkedIn, and there's plenty of different, you can follow HIC, you can follow different offices, but that's where we announce all these areas along with our web pages and the specific NIH site. And then we have newsletters. There's 3 or 4 different small business office newsletters. NHLBI has its own small business newsletter that announces our specific programs. The seed office tries to announce the programs for all over NIH. But please be in touch with all of these channels. Come join us in all the programs that we're running. We're for you. And really get in touch with us. Send us emails. That's what we're here for. And that's what I love about this job.
Wonderful. What a beautiful way to conclude this session. I'm so grateful for your time, for your perspectives, and for the information that you've shared. And we are just so delighted to have you on Early Detect Studios. To our audience, we really hope that you enjoyed this episode with Dr. Ilana Goldberg. And until next time, be well.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.